I have followed the instructions completely as the pattern outline, and my flying geese don't work out. Don't worry, I've got you covered. I know the tricks to stop all of those problems and keep your flying geese flying south in an orderly manner. Have you done a 4 at a time flying geese and they still don't measure up? Follow me and we'll take care of that. This is part 2 of a 3-part series on flying geese. This one is our 4 at a time, no waste flying geese method. I have used this one for years and I still have been frustrated because my flying geese would not turn out accurately. And so I have upsized a little bit. So we're going to trim down. I always find that's better. And when I read my pattern and figure out that the method that they recommend in the pattern is still not going to work, I have been known to add up to a 1/2 inch to the sizes in the pattern so I can square down, because you can cut away fabric, but once it's cut away, you cannot add it back. So let's get started. The measurements that I'm using are in my no waste or my flying geese tutorial packet that we have right here. This is the no waste method. And I am doing the 2 by 4 inch finished size. And again, I'll be using the block lock ruler because this is my favorite tool for flying geese. And I have several different sizes of block lock rulers. So let's get started. All right, I have my 5.5, I think it's 5.5, yep, inch square. And I have already drawn on my center lines, but when I draw my center lines, this one kind of got a little crooked, got away from me, but I lined up on my cutting mat corner to corner on a line, and then I take my disappearing water soluble pen, disappearing ink pen, friction pen, one of those, and I draw my line corner to corner diagonally. So I have my blocks marked up. Now I'm going to lay it down and I'm going to put it in place with my edges matching and my corners lined up. Then I'm going to bring in a second square and line it up like this, and everything should be lining up, including my lines that I already drew. They should be lined up perfectly, and they are. So now I'm going to take and mark a 1/4 inch. You don't have to do the 1/4 inch. There are other techniques. I just find I like using the 1/4 inch markings on my flying geese because they are a lot more accurate this way. If I have a guideline to sew with, I will do that. Some machines have lasers. If you have a laser, you're a lucky person. I don't. The problem with lasers is I found they don't extend far enough, so I still have had to mark. So I'm just going to mark a 1/4 inch away from that center line on both sides. And then we'll go over to the sewing machine and I will pin these 2 squares in place. Once we get these in place, we'll sew it down. All right, let's go. All right, like I said, I brought this over. Nothing really shifted, but I want to pin my corners in place, the corners that I am not sewing. I have my leader already. I've got my open toe presser foot so I can see my line that I'm sewing on. It's very important that you see that line. Don't guess. And we're ready to sew. Okay, now it's time to cut. I'm going to cut on that center line, just like this. And now I have 2 odd triangles that when I get them pressed open, I'll have 2 little hearts. I'm just going to take everything with me right now over to the ironing board, and we'll finish marking our blocks over there and pressing, and then we can sew real quick and be all done. When we're at the iron, this is a really tricky part of pressing. I always set my seams and then I use my hands to lay open. Because we are now on a bias and we don't have the whole square to stabilize, you can stretch your blocks very easily at this point. So be very careful not to do that. You want to just hit your seam. When I say hit, lay your iron down flat, press it open with your hands. You can do one at a time or both. Don't take the edge of your iron and help open those. I have seen people do that online. Don't, because if you take the edge of your iron to help push these back, that will distort your block as well. So be very careful when pressing. If you're worried, once you have it like that, that cute little heart, I always use my clapper. I'm going to do it again. Just set it down. Flip it open with my hands. I can do one at a time like I'm doing here. I want to make sure I don't have a valley between the two, and I can hit it down like that. And fold this one back. The tricky part is not to burn yourself. Okay? Like that and that. Now, it's time to take our hearts and put our other block on. I've already prepped this one, so let's prep this one so it's ready to go. I'm going to just go ahead and use my little flying geese ruler here because it'll work, and that's the only ruler I grabbed with me. But it has all the markings I need, right? So I'm straight edge here. I can go corner to corner like that, and then I got my 1/4 inch line, so I can line that up, and I'm just going to turn this around instead of spinning the whole thing. Line that back up. It's not that crucial, this second mark, to do that, and put that there just like that. Beautiful. Oh, that's the one drawback with this pen, is it pulls the cap off sometimes. Okay, this is ready to lay down on this square heart. It's not really a square, it's heart. I'm gonna reach behind me to grab my pins. And once again, I'm going to make sure that everything is lined up. And I'm going to pin these two corners. And if you're making a whole lot of flying geese at this point, you're going to want a chain piece all of them. So that is what we're going to do. Let me slide that. Slide that. I use my fingernails to slide things around sometimes, because otherwise they get moved too far. Now I have a preference when I sew my flying geese that I sew from this top corner first and not down here. This part tends to sometimes bunch up, and so I need to pay attention and keep it as flat as possible. So if I start my chain piecing on that left hand side, I'm usually pretty good and don't have to worry about that. Okay, remove the pins and any enders or leaders that are still hanging around. And we'll cut them apart. Ooh, that didn't cut, did it? No. I'm still recovering from my surgery, and I'm not very strong in my hands sometimes, and so we double cut. There we go. Okay, now we're ready for pressing. So again, set the iron down, fold it back, and set the iron in place. Okay, I wanted to point out on this one, this is why I cut oversized, because if I don't, I quite often have one of my sky pieces that comes out just a little bit longer, and that difference right there is enough to knock my point off if I'm not squaring up my block. And I have tried and tried and tried to make these absolutely perfect every time, and I just have learned and have had other people tell me, cut big and square to where you need to go. And I want to show you how very little bit we are trimming. In fact, that little piece right there that I was so worried about is almost right at the edge of the ruler. And this is why I like a rotating mat as well. Usually if you make 4 at a time flying geese, they give you barely enough room to just cut your dog ears off. And I find that, like I showed you, I quite often am short against one of the corners. So I put this down again, and you see very little trimming, but I know I'm 100% accurate, and I don't have to go to the fabric store and buy more fabric. The block lock locks into that seam right there and does not move, so makes the perfect cut. With the block lock ruler, I'm not rocking my seam. There's a lot of fabric bulk up here, and flat rulers tend to rock back and forth, and I find that those cause me to lose my accuracy as well. And you notice I don't think there's any extra right here. Just the dog ear came off on that one side. So that's why I always cut a little bit larger, and I've given you a little bit larger dimensions on the guide sheet, so you'll have perfect flying geese every time, 4 at a time. Thanks for watching. See you on the next reel.